Hi, this is Krista Welsh.
Hey, this is Daniel Arthur Smith.
Hey, this is Terry R. Hill.
Hey, it's Josh Hayes, and you're listening to
30-minute author interviews
with my friend Preston Lay.
Woohoo! Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of 30-minute author interviews. There is a giveaway with this week's episode, but before I tell you about it, let me tell you about our two sponsors. First up is the Galactic Satori Chronicles by Nick Breaker and Paul E. Hicks. The Galactic Satori Chronicles. A thirst for revenge sends one man on a deadly journey through the galaxy in this adrenaline-pumping new series. Asher is a young man whose world is turned upside down when he discovers that his fiance's death has been directly caused by an imminent alien invasion. Projecting their consciousness into unsuspecting men and women, these aliens are learning exactly how to use humanity's own selfishness and greed as weapons against them. Asher bands together with a group of friends, and these four MIT co-eds are more than meets the eye and go to battle with those who are intent on destroying our planet. Out of the Gray by Patricia Gilliam. Aliens, politics, and murder. Only the first one is new. When an Earth-based terrorist group targets Hanaria's ambassador, two teenagers become entrapped in the conflict. Alex Vernon is the son of an Earth Independence Party representative and doesn't want to follow his father's path of political manipulation and corruption. Rika Miller is the adopted daughter of an engineer and nurse who later discovers she's not human but Hanarian. Alex must decide between his family loyalties and saving the life of an alien he's been taught to fear and hate, while Rika searches for the truth of what happened to her birth parents. The Galactic Satori Chronicles by Nick Breaker and Paul E. Hicks and Out of the Gray by Patricia Gilliam can both be found on Amazon. Or just head on over to Leigendarium.com, check out the show notes for this episode, and in the show notes we will include a link where you can check out both of these books on Amazon and learn more about them and buy them if you would like to. And now for the giveaway. This week our guest is Alan V. Nelson, and he's doing something a little bit different for a giveaway. He's not going to be giving away a book. I'm not going to spoil it. Listen to the podcast episode, and he will explain in the podcast what his giveaway exactly is. And we will have more information in the show notes over at Leigendarium.com. So enjoy our interview with author Alan V. Nelson. Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of 30-Minute Author Interviews. This week, our guest is Alan V. Nelson. Thank you for coming on and doing 30-Minute Author Interviews.
I am honestly ridiculously happy to be here.
I guess you could say after we've been talking for over an hour.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We've been talking about it over an hour. Let's not talk about what we've been talking about. But
that's right.
Mom, it's fine. We haven't been talking dirty. Just it could have gone there. Anyway,
that's right.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we like to start each episode with a segment that I'm sure you are familiar with called Two Truths and a Lie, where you tell me two truths and a lie about yourself. I'm on a losing streak, so let's see if I can turn it around. Probably not. But okay. Do you have two truths and a lie about yourself?
I do, but I got to say that I am a Christian like Nick Cole, but I am capable of lying because I'm a sinner, unlike the really godly people in the world. Hey, Nick. Yeah, I have two truths and a lie. So here we go. One, I don't believe in gravity. Two, I believe that there is a giant sea monster in the deepest part of the ocean. And three, we when I was younger, when I was 10, we ran the border between Hungary and Czech Republic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. I know the first one's true, that you don't believe in gravity, because I read part of your article called "I'm a Doubter." So I'm pretty sure that was in there. So I'm gonna say that one's true. I'm going to narrow it down to believing in a sea monster or random border between Czech Republic and Hungary. I know off air you told me you did some like mission work with your parents.
Yeah, my missionaries were when I was growing up, man.
But you didn't mention that part. For some reason, I really don't, really no reason at all. I'm going to say that the running of the border of the Czech Republic and Hungary is a lie.
Okay. All right. So they're actually all true.
Dang it.
Yeah. But there is some context. I don't believe in gravity. That's a longer conversation than we have time for. I do believe in a giant sea monster based on years of research. And then we did run the border, but we didn't run the border. On December 26th of a year, we had to, I forget which year it was, but I was 10, and we had to go move into the house we were going to be living in while my parents were missionaries in Norway. And so it was early on December 26th of that year, and my parents got us all up and just like, hey, we gotta go. And so it's always been fun for me to talk about how like we got up and like for some odd reason there was this just urgency to get to the border and like across it. Mm-hmm. And so I've always looked at it and gone, okay, I feel like we ran the border. And because it was just this urgency, like if I talked to my dad, he'd probably be like, well, that's okay. That's stretching the truth. So it may not be a truth. Maybe it's a half truth, and maybe you kind of get this one a little bit.
Okay. Well, then I'll give myself the win.
Right. But I don't think it'd be good for I'm a preacher's kid, so you got to be careful when you give a preacher's kid a microphone because you're responsible for everything that comes out of their mouth. And my dad knows this better than anybody. And so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Dad, but it makes me feel better knowing that we had some really crazy, possibly illegal adventures.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, normally at this point in the podcast, I ask you to tell us about who you are and what you do, but okay. I'm going to switch it up. And this is where I want to drop that thing on you that I told you I was going to drop on you like a bomb.
Oh, dear.
So
I'm so excited right now.
I'm so going to let you down because it's not exciting. But
it's fine. I get excited about ants.
So on your webpage that you have, you started an interview.
On Third Scribe by Rob McClellan.
That's right.
Man.
You haven't done one in a while, though.
I have not.
But you had a spotlight on there, and I was the spotlight one. So I was the first one that you did. So thank you for letting me be your first spotlight. So
thank you for being a guinea pig.
Yeah. So instead of asking you who you are and what you do, we're going to go through your spotlight questions.
Oh, you're a douche.
Turning the tables on you.
Oh, goody. Okay.
Question number 1.
All right.
I guess I'm cheating because it is what I asked. For those who don't know, can you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
All right. My name is Alan V. Nelson, as Preston so kindly said at the beginning, and now is a mean person. But my name is Alan V. Nelson. I'm a writer, an apologist, and a chai guy. And when I say chai guy, I mean I'm completely enamored with chai, and I'm not going to say chai tea because chai means tea. And those who know me know that it's an irritation, but we'll move on from there. I've written fiction, and I'm currently in a season of my life where I'm writing nonfiction. But basically, I'm a writer and an apologist. And I feel like my purpose is to encourage hope and healing in others, and I try to do that through my writing and my apologetics. And then, I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with my wife, Amy.
So that kind of brings me to a question I wanted to ask you. As you said, you did write fiction, but now you are doing more of, according to Amazon, the memoir / inspirational / personal growth genre.
Right.
Why did you switch from fiction to that?
Okay, that's actually that answer is twofold. There's a simple answer and there's a complicated answer. The simple answer is Jesus.
Okay.
I can't finish anything that I don't feel like Jesus wants me to not. I can't finish anything if he doesn't want me to finish it, and that sounds really foreign to people that may not be Christians. But we can unbox that if you want to. But the complicated answer still involves Jesus, but from a completely different perspective. Hugh Howey. Everybody knows that name in indie publishing.
That's right.
Yeah, because he's one of the guys.
Right. He's Mr. Indie Publishing.
He is Mr. No, he's Mr. on a boat.
Right.
There's no more. It's just like you can't beat you. Okay, indie publishing is like saying that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis are not superstars when you're referring to Hugh Howey. It's like, wait a second. No, he's transcended indie publishing. He's hanging out with Neil Gaiman, for crying out loud, on his boat. Right. Like Neil Gaiman comes to him, and it's just like, wait a second. No, you're not independent anymore. You're your own conglomerate. But anyway, he's written this nonfiction series called Wayfinding, and I read a few of them, and I was just like, there's something missing here. There's something missing here, because it was a lot of things that he was going on with his personal bias and like beliefs in science, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of good, I love science and I love personal bias, and I love research and putting two and two together. But I was just like, wait a second, there's something missing here. Maybe there's something else deeper that we can talk about here. And wayfinding is kind of like this approach. It's just like, we'll eventually find out where we're supposed to be going. And you just got to follow the stars. And it's just like, okay, that's great. So we know the general direction of where we're supposed to be going. So we'll just head that way. And it's just like, well, Wayfaring, which is the nonfiction series that I started, was in direct response to that, because Wayfaring is like a long journey by foot for the people. And I wrote this for the people that don't know how to find any directions. They honestly don't know where they're supposed to be headed. And I was just like, and so wayfinding, it's you find these ways, compasses, stars, whatever. But there's a lot of people out there that just don't know where they're going. And so Wayfaring appeared, and it's just like, okay, guess what? While you're on this journey, why don't I come alongside of you and just try to, teach you some things along the way that you can just use while you're finding out where you're supposed to be going. So that way, when you eventually find your direction, you're like, hey, great, I have a better bearing on this part of my life now that I figured out all this stuff. It's kind of like going to community college and getting rid of your base courses. You're just like, okay, I'm done with this. So that way, when you go to a 4-year, college, to like a liberal arts college, you're just like, okay, I got all the important stuff out of the way. Now I can go for what I'm really here for. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of that mentality. So as Jesus and Hugh Howey kind of came together and said, we're going to inspire Alan to write nonfiction.
That'd be quite the combination if they came to you in real life.
That really would, because he's an atheist.
Right.
And there's nothing, okay, I got to be delicate here. There's nothing wrong with having a belief system that is opposed to my belief system. Mm-hmm. And so him being an atheist has literally no bearing on how great of a person he is, because he's obviously in shape. He's obviously a nice guy, unless he's talking about politics. But if him and Jesus sat down and had a conversation, that would actually be a really, really, I would love to I would pay to see that. I would fly a helicopter to his boat just to watch.
There we go.
Wherever his boat is at this point.
I think he's in New York right now, as of us recording.
He's back in New York?
Well, he was there working with Audible, recording some stuff for his new book that just came out with his short stories in it. And then I think he's at New York Comic-Con this weekend. As of us recording it, not for those who are listening, it's already happened. But
right.
I believe he was there for that as well. I don't know where he's going after that, though.
Right. Well, I mean, but this podcast episode isn't about you, How it's about me.
That's right. It's about you.
I'm just.
So speaking of you, question number 2 on the spotlight that you asked in your spotlight was, what inspires you from day to day?
Wow. Honestly, gracious. I mean, I can't narrow it down. It can be a TV show that I'm watching, or it can be a lyric. Okay, so for example, there's a short story that I've written that I haven't published yet, and it was inspired by a song called "Nashville" by Noah Gunderson. And in the song, there's a line that says "White Ghost on the Water," and I was just like, dang, okay. I just got this mental image in my head and I need to write that story. But then again, it could be something completely different. Whereas a couple of years ago, or maybe it's a little over a year ago, I heard a sermon at church, and my pastor said, "A window into the womb." And I don't remember at all what the sermon was about. Because I wrote that line down and I was just like, because I immediately got a mental image of this story that needed to be told, and it turned out it's this story on my website called "A Window into the Womb." I wrote that and I was just like, man, it just came flowing out. So it can literally be anything, something visual or something that gives me a visual image, or I can just because I write a bunch of haikus too. So it can literally just me be thinking, here's a subject, I want to write about this. If it comes out, if it comes out. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Okay.
So with your Wayfaring little series that you have going on, you have 3 parts out right now. How many parts do you think you're going to do?
I have 3 parts out right now. I'm almost done with the 4th part. Then we'll have possibly a 5th one. I'm strongly considering ending it after the 4th one, because there's so much more I need to write, and there's so much more going on in my life that it's just like, I'm having all these strings pulled in different directions, but all around the same thing, which is my purpose, which is encourage, hope, and healing. And so I feel like I have one more in me after the one that I'm writing now. So right now, let's just say there'll be 5.
So for those that don't, I mean, you've kind of talked about it for a second. Can you tell them what your Wayfaring series is about?
Yeah. It's a collection, of ideas, that I feel like are intrinsic to every human being. And a lot of us, many of us, don't know how to address some of these bigger questions. Like part 1 is really talking about just stagnating, just stopping in this point of your life, and you're like, I don't know what to do next. Like, I literally have no idea. And it's not that I have the answer to that. It's just like, hey, try this. Because I know a lot of people, myself included, that have done this, and it's like, this worked. And so I try to break that down in a really universal way. But then there's like part 2, which is called Living Water. And it's about truth, and it's breaking down what truth actually is. And so, because in the world today, it doesn't matter whether you're in the U.S. or going international, there's this question, is like, what is truth? Does truth even exist? And even one of my best buddies, we have this joke between us, because he doesn't think that truth is static, and I believe that it is static. And so, and these we could get really heady if we wanted to. But Living Water is just breaking it down from like a very systematic way, saying this is what truth is. And so that way it gives you like a bearing, and you're just like, okay, I kind of understand that now. So that way I can make my own choice about what I believe truth is, but also here are the consequences, good or bad, for taking a stance either way. Third part is, third part was hard to write. But that one was a good one. I don't want to like break that one down too much because I just want people to read it. But part 3 is thinking shoes. And we talk about intellectualism and the lost art of thought. And I really wanted to help people understand that you're not stupid. You're not stupid. Like, nobody is stupid. And intellectuals are not some little sect of hipsterdom or a professor at a college, and they seem to either think they have all the answers or we assume they have all the answers. We're literally all intellectuals. We just have, for some odd reason, lost the art and the ability to process our minds, intellectually. And so that's where that goes. And part 4, which I'm almost done with, is about purpose and passion. And it's funny because I've said a few times already that I know what my purpose is. And a lot of people are like, well, that's nice for you. Even some people that are really close to me, they're like, that's great. I'm glad you know what you're supposed to do with your life. And I'm just like, I can tell you what you're supposed to do with yours too. And they're just like, well, you don't know me. I was like, I don't need to know you. Like, I literally know what it is. And it sounds like really, it sounds really rude to say that to some people, because they're just like, you don't know me, you don't know my life. And I'm just like, yeah, but you're a human being. And there are things that are intrinsic to who you are that I can point to and say, hey, guess what? This is your purpose. And then once we talk about purpose, we can talk about passion. And passion is a very confusing thing for people too. And so when I get to that, I'll publish that. And if I do a 5th one, it'll be about learning how to, because you learn a lot of things and you decide what you believe over the course of this journey, this wayfaring, this long journey by foot. You learn a lot of things, and then eventually you're going to have to decide what you believe. And so the 5th part is going to be about potentially, if I decide to write it, about actually learning how to defend those beliefs, right or wrong. Because eventually somebody's going to say, well, why do you believe that? And well, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And how do you believe it? How do you carry it out? How do you demonstrate it? And eventually you're going to have to just answer those questions, whether you want to or not. And so it's just a little guidebook for explaining that. So that's Wayfaring in a nutshell as it is. But honestly, I just wanted to be a friend to readers that had big questions and didn't even know where to begin to look for even the slightest answer or even the next question to ask.
And these books, for those that don't know, they're all very short reads. They're all in I think Amazon has them listed as you can read in under 45 minutes.
Yeah,
so
they're super quick. Yeah.
So do you think once you know you're done writing all the Wayfaring, do you think you'll put them in like an omnibus?
I know I will. Yeah, that's been the end goal from the very beginning. Because it's really funny. I have some great ideas for it, and I'll just go ahead and spoil it for whoever's listening to my little annoying voice. I'm gonna put them, because we all like carrying around our Kindles. Indie readers are big into Kindles, man, and it's pretty much because we're all on Amazon all the time, and it's just convenient. But I designed the size of Wayfaring as the finished paperback piece, the size of a Kindle.
Oh,
so
really?
Literally, yeah. So it's going to be printed. It's going to be printed like that, and it's just going to be able to slip into your pocket or into your pocketbook. It's not going to be a very big book, and so you can literally take it wherever you want. And so I'm excited just to get it in my hands when it's all done, because it's just gonna, that's been the idea from the very beginning.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think since you said your purpose is to encourage hope and healing, I think you should change your author name to like E.H.H. Nelson.
Okay. Encourage, hope, and healing, Nelson.
Yep.
I feel
Just
like that.
EHH.
EHH.
Nelson.
I like Alan V.
There you go.
I like Alan V. One, because Alan V is my name and I like it. And then EHH, when people find out that means encourage, hope, and healing, it's like, oh, you're really full of yourself, aren't you? Your parents named you after your purpose. Or you went to like the courthouse and you're just like, oh, I'm going to change my name to my purpose because that's how much you don't know about life.
It'd just be your pen name.
Well, I already have one of those. So
do you really?
I do.
Well, what kind of stuff you write under your pen name? It's probably like complete opposite, isn't it?
Well, it's funny because I have these high concepts that I put under my pen name. I'm not going to say he or she, but put under my pen name, and they're not bad, and they're not completely the opposite because like I said, if Jesus isn't in it, I can't finish it. So ultimately, all of my writing is gonna encourage hope and healing in some way. Even this fiction piece that I've been working on for over a year now, which I'm ridiculously excited about. It's super dark and it's super twisted in parts, but it's just like it's like The Road. All right, my story's not like The Road. I'm not going to give it that much credence, but in The Road, you're reading it and you're like, man, there is so much like. Unless you're like just depressed all the time, you're reading The Road and you're like, there's so much hope in this thing, just like very subtle. There's just so much hope. And even to the end, I'm not going to spoil the end because a lot of people still haven't read The Road, which is a travesty. But The Road is just a magnificent piece of literature. And if you're really paying attention, there's so much hope underlying this. And I kind of wanted to do that with my own stories, like make it dark and deep and twisted. But the whole time you're reading it, there's just this beautiful subtlety of hope and how it just never goes away. And it's just, and there's healing. And sometimes you can't recognize that unless somebody's there to encourage you and not have all the answers, but literally just to put their arm around you and be like, guess what? It's okay. It's okay. And so when I write with my pen name, it's going to be these like kitschy little like crazy things, but there's always going to be like this underlying thing of hope and healing and my efforts to encourage that in everybody.
All right. So I'm going to take a guess at your pen name.
Yeah, you're not going to guess it. But please, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you told me...
You say Harry Palms, I'm going to smack you.
No, so it's... that's a little throwback to our hour-long conversation. So you told me about a book, and I bought it in the audiobook. Is there an audiobook of your stuff in your pen name?
No, I haven't actually been able to publish anything under my pen name yet
because
I've been so busy with everything else. But
I was going to say you're Scott Hawkins then.
Wow. No.
All right.
Oh man, no.
Okay.
I was hoping you were going to say Forbes West.
No, I've talked to him.
I was really hoping. Yeah, I know you.
Dude's a trip.
But I have this. Yeah, he's definitely a joke. I love him, but I don't think he knows how to take me. So I just kind of backed off of trolling him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did just for a little while. And he was probably just like, "Who is this punk that's punking me?" Which is not possible.
That's funny.
And so, but I still, I still had to troll him just a little bit.
So question number 3 from your spotlight.
Okay.
And you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but that's okay. Question number 3 is, why do you do what you do? Yeah,
it boils down to my purpose. That's the simple way of putting it. There's a lot of like underneath, just like thing, because I was a missionary kid, pastor's kid, and you see a lot of stuff that people just need to come out of or escape from. And so, yeah, I mean, I do what I do for people, Jesus and other people. People are my passion. I'm not a very extroverted person, but people are my passion. I love people, and half the people I run into annoy the crap out of me. But for some odd reason, I can't not look at them and like I can't look at them and not trust them. Like I'm an inherently like trusting person, even if you screw me over like a million times. I'm just like, oh, you're back. You want something from me? Of course, I'll give you $1 million. That's fine. You'll pay me back. But yeah, so I do what I do for Jesus and people, and it's great to do it that way because Jesus keeps me humble, and people keep me loving. So
okay, well,
I mean, both actually do the same. But anyway,
I'm gonna jump into some fan questions.
Okay.
That we got submitted online. So the first one is from Diane S. Loftis.
Okay.
And I'm just going to read what she wrote. She says, I'm curious about the hashtag DemoDay, which I think was related to a video that was posted on Facebook last year around this time, encouraging others to stop overlooking things or situations where there is an obvious lack of and do something. In your video, you mentioned a little free library near you, and she is wondering if you continued in your efforts to donate books to it, and as a result, have you noticed others that have donated books, possibly due to your leadership and setting a positive example?
Okay, so that's a great question, and I love that question. And I got to clear something up, though. Hashtag DemoDay belongs to Chip Gaines from Fixer Upper. He's my boy. And he loves DemoDay, and I know a lot of HGTV shows like to use DemoDay as like, we love DemoDay, but you know, Chip was the OG demolition guy, in my opinion. I love Chip and I love JoJo. But as far as DemoDay goes, yeah, it was breaking down the walls between driving by and doing something, and consequently, her question relates directly to how mine and your bromance started.
Yeah.
Because you saw my video, you're just like, hey, can I share this? And then you wrote this whole big blog post. And so to answer her questions, yeah, I feel like I've inspired people because I inspired Preston, and that's super hard. But you know, because he sees a lot and he talks to a lot of people. So to actually grab his attention with something as insignificant as I thought that was, you know, it's definitely been positive because Preston did his own thing with it. It was great. And then a lot of people around me, we started other hashtags like hashtag do something, hashtag be a go doer, which my bestie Lindsay, she adopted. But so that was great. I'd still, and going to the other part of her question, I still do give books away. It's matured slightly, actually. I tend to give my own books away. I have this thing to where I love it when people buy my book. I love it when people buy any of my books. But honestly, if I could financially, I would get as many as I possibly could printed and just hand them to people. Mm-hmm. Because I'm just like, you know, sometimes people are just afraid to read an idea because they're just like, well, that sounds too complicated. And then they'll never touch it. And sometimes I run into that with my Wayfaring series. They're like, well, that sounds, you know, a little too deep. And I'm just like, man, just here, I will email you. Like, I will copy and paste the text and I will email you like whichever topic you're interested in. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. So I'll give away my book. But tomorrow, talking about the Little Free Library, which is a great cause. Everybody should look up Little Free Libraries in their area. In fact, I'm actually going to be donating some more books tomorrow to another Little Free Library.
Oh, nice.
And so there's like within about 10 minutes walking distance from my house, there's 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
So I can literally just like, you know, just spread them out around town.
I tried to find the one near my work and I couldn't find it. I think they took it down and it's just still on the map.
Yeah, well, yeah. And sometimes people put them up and they're unsanctioned. So there'll be Little Free Libraries, but they won't be on the website.
Oh, okay.
So you just drive around and you look like you see this oversized mailbox, and then you're like, oh, that's an oversized mailbox, and then you ignore it. But then if you really take the time, and it goes back to, you know, stop driving by, you take the time to actually look at it, you'd be like, oh, that's a book box.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's really neat how that works out. But it's matured to the point where I give away my own books. I've given away so much of my freaking time because I'm just like, you know, I can't. Like, I think I get this from my dad. My dad, when he was starting out, when he realized he was supposed to be an international missionary, he was working for a missions organization, and he realized that, you know, there was no missionary to go to Scandinavia, which is Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and he's just like, okay, so I'm gonna, you know, suggest this to the missions organization, and, you know, we're gonna see what happens, and I'll, you know, see if anybody's interested. And after a while, nothing came out of it, and he was just like, wait a second, maybe I'm the guy. And when he realized that, he's just like, Yep, Jesus, yep, I'm the guy. And so and immediately, like right then, his heart changed for just that part of the world. And it's not that they're like a terrible people and they need Jesus and da 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 da. It's just like he just embraced this love for this people he had never known. And he took a trip and he went and did something. He scouted it out, and he got to get to know the people a little bit. And it was just a beautiful thing because he came out and came back with just such love for that part of the world, and he still does it today. He's taking another trip over there soon because he ministers to pastors now over there.
Oh, nice.
But there's a lot of Jesus in this podcast. I haven't heard this much Jesus in the 30-minute author interview ever.
Right.
Yeah, so I get that from my dad, to where it's just like, you know, sometimes when you're looking for somebody else to do something, maybe that's the indication that you're the one that's supposed to be doing it. So stop driving by and do something. It's like my pastor a few weeks ago at church. He's just like, hey, we're thinking about doing this thing. Da, 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 da. Oh, actually, would you like to do it? And it involved standing up on stage and interviewing my dad for his missions. I don't do crowds, period. But as soon as he said it, I immediately went, yes. And I know better than that because I don't do crowds, but I was just like, you know what? He asked me, maybe I'm the guy. And sometimes just figuring out, just saying maybe you're the guy or maybe you're the girl is an indication that, yeah, you're the guy, you're the girl, and you need to go do something. And it wasn't that somebody wasn't available because the pastor was just like, yeah, I mean, that's what I do. But he just suggested it to me. I was just like, you know what? That'd be really important to my dad. That'd be really important to me. And it'd also be like a personal step for my church to really see like, hey, his own son is so like embracing of his mission to the world, you know, and maybe we should take a closer look at this. And so it's a beautiful thing how that works. So it's matured, Diane, to answer your question. And to basically my entire life, and I can't get away from it now. It didn't start with that interview. I mean, that interview. It didn't start with that video, but it did like blossom beautifully because Preston took a hold of it, and then he inspired me when I inspired him, and it's just gone crazy from there. So yeah.
I think all that kind of leads into another fan question from Shannen Vernon. She has several questions, but so she wants to know, what is your ultimate success goal, or at what point of success would you feel accomplished?
Okay, so I'm gonna think about this really quick. Let me parse these questions out, because that's a lot of like. That's a lot of, I mean, that's borderline existential. It really is, because I mean, we're talking about, you know, ultimate success goals. Okay, so, you know, are we talking about money? Are we talking about like relationships? Are we talking about like your spiritual life? Are we talking about, you know, freaking, you know, kids? And at what point is, you know, a success would I feel accomplished? So let's break these down. Because I'm an apologist, and for those unfamiliar, apologists seek to separate fact from fiction as it relates to the truth of the subject. And typically they do that around religion. Most lawyers are apologists, but in a different way. Don't get me mixed up with those people. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to separate fact from fiction. So, as it relates to the truth of what she's asking. So, what is my ultimate success goal? My ultimate success goal was actually blown away at the very beginning of my writing career 3 or 4 years ago, when I really started taking it really seriously and published my first book, Waking Alive. It's actually a conversation between a preacher and an artist in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Yeah, the whole entire conversation is about life, death, and purpose. So my goal for success was to sell one book to somebody that didn't feel like they had to because they knew me. And I did that like the first week it was out, and I was just like, okay. And then my next goal was to be like, okay, I lined up a book signing that I don't have books for. And so my next goal was to say, hey, I prayed this. I said, Lord, I have a signing that I don't have books for. I don't have the money to get books. So, Lord, I'm not looking to be on the bestseller list. I'm not looking to be Hugh Howey on a boat. I'm not looking to be Preston with this awesome podcast. I'm looking to make enough money to buy 50 books for my book signing. I did that in like a month, and my signing was like 3 months away. And I sold 5. I signed 5 books at the signing, and then by the end of the year, I had given the rest away. Not because they couldn't sell. I don't want people to get confused here. Not because they couldn't sell, but it was just like, so what's your book about? And it's called Waking Alive. It's about a preacher and an artist in zombie apocalypse. Immediate, like, to the general public, they go, preacher and artist. Okay, I can handle that. And you say zombie apocalypse, and they're like, what? I don't like zombies, which is funny because there's like 15 million people watching every episode of The Walking Dead. And so it was just like, and then I would explain to them, it's like, well, it's a conversation of ideas about life, death, and purpose in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. So it's a that we use as an allegory or a metaphor. And they're like, oh, okay. All right. And then I was just like, hey, why don't you take it? Why don't you read it? Just give it to them. I wasn't like, please read it. Tell me what you think. It was just like, hey, I just want to share this with you. So I just gave basically the rest of the books away. Sold a couple, but basically the rest of the books away. And so my success, what is my ultimate success goal? One, I want to encourage hope and healing, like we've talked about. And 2, I want people to read. I don't care what they read, as long as it's not 50 Shades of Grey. And if E.L. James has been on your freaking podcast, I'm sorry for you.
No, she hasn't.
Okay, yeah, those books are terrible. I don't care who you are.
I don't do the whole erotica thing on my blog.
That would be definitely a very good podcast episode. Where do you get your ideas?
Right.
Is this experiential? But no, so I just want people to read, and I want people to know that they have questions that have answers. And no, not every question has an answer. But if you want to talk to me, if you want to message me online and ask me a question and I don't have the answer to it, I'm going to get together with you some way, like over online or phone call or text or whatever. And we're going to search for that answer. You know what? Let's just do this. I don't have anything to give away at this point unless you want me to email, unless readers want me to email them copies of my manuscripts. What I will give away is this. My phone number, 336-406-4134. That number again is 336-406-4134. If anybody has a question, don't call me. That's the only thing I ask. Don't call me, but text me. And say, hey, this is a question I have. It can be about life, God. It can be about anything at all. It can be about what you've heard on this podcast. If you have a question and you want to go deeper into a subject, then text me, and we'll talk. And that's what I can give away. I don't have time, but I will make time, because there are things that are more important when it comes to encourage, hoping, and healing that just transcend too many hours in the week. And so that's what I want to give away, and it's literally to anybody that is listening.
Okay.
But that's my ultimate success goal, is to just encourage people in whatever way I can. What point of success would you feel accomplished? Goodness gracious, I think that I answered that. I don't think I'm ever going to feel accomplished, because every day, if I can encourage somebody, that's an accomplishment. What is my next step to achieve these goals? Find somebody else I can encourage.
Yeah.
Write another book. Write another article called "I Am a Doubter," which apparently struck really strong chords with people. What do I plan to do with my success? Encourage more people. That's really it. I just want to encourage more people. And these sound like blanket answers, and I know that she was probably looking for like these really high view answers, and maybe she wasn't, maybe she was. But it really boils down to, I realized why I'm here. And anything outside of the reason that I exist, I can be having the worst day ever, but if I get to encourage somebody, for some reason, it doesn't matter what my day looked like. It does not matter at all. And then, so that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do with success, is just encourage more people, and maybe do it from a boat. And what would it mean for me to find success in what I enjoy? I think me and my dad share this. What we want. I love people, and I want to encourage hope and healing in all people. But I love Jesus more. And if there's one thing that I want more than anything in existence, in the universe, in being at all, is to meet him face to face one day. And he says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And it's like, if I get to hear that, I'm going to fail really bad in encouraging people. I'm not going to be the best author. I'm not going to be able to write The Old Man in the Wasteland, Nick Cole's masterpiece. I'm not going to be able to do that. I understand that. But if I get to hear "well done, good and faithful servant" sometime in the indeterminate future, then I don't care what I have to go through. Because the person that loved me enough to create me and then say, "Hey, you suck it up really bad." He's not that mean, but he created me. He loves me. He died for me. And then he wants to welcome me like I did something, and he wants to say, "Hey, good job." And I'm going, "You died for me." And he's like, "Yeah, well, that's fine. You did a good job. Come on in." And I'm just like, "What? Are you serious? I'm only here because you died for me. I'm only here because I accepted that. And you want to tell me I did a good job? Goodness gracious, dude. You're crazier than I thought you were. It's bad enough you rose from the dead. Are you kidding?" But yeah, that's what would it mean to find success? That would mean literally everything, every single thing. And that answers all our questions.
Well, now that we got deep for a minute,
we can go worse, man. We can get worse.
I guess we'll end on a couple lighthearted questions.
Okay.
So the first one, is from Beth. Is it Russo?
I believe that's how it's pronounced. Beth Wussy. Russo. Yeah, okay. We'll call her Wusso. Beth Wusso.
She asked, when is the model from Wayfaring Part 1 going to get a call about being on another one of your books, asking for a friend?
Well, hi, Beth. I'm not currently hiring models. But if I do, I will make sure that you're not one of them, because you're my little sister. Thank you for the question. Which is why if listeners thought that I was being a very mean person by calling her Wusso, that is my little sister. So thank you, Beth, for your contribution. And I'll have my people call your people.
We'll do lunch.
Yeah, we'll do lunch. Yeah, that's how that works.
And then the question we're known for here at 30-Minute Author Interviews in the Leigendarium is: a penguin walks through the door right now wearing a sombrero. What does he say, and why is he here?
Okay. I've put a lot of thought into this because I've listened to plenty of your podcasts, and I've put a lot of thought into this, and it's going to sound terrible, so I got to get some context. Okay. No, I'm not even going to give context. I'm going to say it. Penguin, he walks into a bar, right, with a sombrero?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He has a backstory, right? He was raised by two dads, two homosexual dads. Bless their hearts. They're great dudes, but they died, and they were assassinated. And he walks into the bar and sees the murderer in front of him, and he goes, "Hello, my name is Inigo Pinguino. You killed my fathers. Prepare to die."
There we go.
And there you go.
And then the question we end on here is: before we leave, do you have any advice, whether it be for writing or for life, that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Oh, gracious. Man, we can say do what you love what you do. We can say, encourage hope and healing. We can talk about writing, what all these great pieces of advice that I've ever been given. But I think that what I want to encourage people to do, find how you specifically as a person love. You know how you feel love. You either receive it and you either get gifts and you're just like, hey, that's really nice. Thank you for the gift. I feel loved. Or somebody gives you a hug and you feel loved, or somebody does something for you, you feel loved. Somebody, spends time with you and you feel loved. All these different ways. But find specifically the way that you show love to people. And if you want to write with that love in mind. And if you want to just live life, then live with that way you love in mind. Not because it's going to make your life easier. I guarantee you it's going to make your life harder when you actually embrace the way you love. But when you find the way you love, go for it with all you can and don't give up. And even if people don't like hugs, I know a lot of them because I'm a huge hugger, and right now I'm just like air hugging Preston. But find a way to love people, and if they don't accept it, if they don't like the way you love, that's fine. Just find some way to express it to people, because that means the world. Because the last thing we need, everything in the U.S. right now is just pointing to a lot of hate, and I'm not saying hippie love. I'm talking about genuine, unconditional showing somebody love just because they're a human being. And that's my advice literally to anybody, is just to love on people, because that's honestly, when it gets down to brass tacks, that's all we have to give to each other. We can either hate them or we can love them, and we should just love them.
There we go. That is some good advice. Where can the listeners go if they want to learn more about you or your books that you've written?
Well, you can go to alanvnelson.com, ALANV as in Victor, even though Victor's not my last name, Nelson, middle name, excuse me, Nelson, NELSON.com. Again, Third Scribe. It's the Third Scribe website. Rob McClellan is the man. Hey, Rob. And you can also go to my Facebook, Instagram, and a newly appointed Twitter account. Lord help me. I don't know why I signed up for one of those. And I don't mean that in vain. I'm just like, God, please give me a reason to use this thing. But yeah, you can find me all at Alan V. Nelson, ALANVNELSON.
Well, we'll put links to all of that over in the show notes over at Leigendarium.com.
Yeah, and make sure, and if you want to, you can actually post my phone number there as well.
Okay. We will do that. So
awesome.
If Shannen Vernon wants deeper answers to her questions, she can text you.
She knows where to find me.
Knows where to find you. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking time and coming on 30-minute author interviews. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I loved it. Thank you for having me. We'll do this long-winded thing again.
We will.
Yeah.
That is all the time that we have for this week's episode of 30-Minute Author Interviews. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you tune in next Wednesday and every Wednesday for another great author interview. Don't forget to head on over to Leigendarium.com and check out the show notes for this episode. In the show notes, you're going to find the special giveaway that we mentioned that Alan V. Nelson is doing. All the details for that will be in the show notes at Leigendarium.com. Also in the show notes, you can find the link to our sponsors, the Galactic Satori Chronicles by Nick Breaker and Paul E. Hicks, and also Out of the Gray by Patricia Gilliam. Check them out and let them know that you heard about them right here on 30-Minute Author Interviews. And don't miss another episode of 30-Minute Author Interviews. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. I would also like to thank a few of our Patreon supporters. I would like to thank Third Scribe, Maggie Stewart Grant, and Nick Breaker. They're supporting 30-Minute Author Interviews through Patreon. They are also receiving the Patreon-only podcast 10 Questions With. Visit patreon.com/legendarium and find out how you can support 30-Minute Author Interviews for as little as $1 a month. Until next time, stay legendary.